In 1826, the development of the first suspension bridge marked a pivotal moment in engineering history. Since that groundbreaking achievement, these structures have become much larger and more reliable. They serve as vital links connecting communities together and facilitating global commerce. Today, we're counting down the 15 largest suspension bridges in the world, so let's start with number 15, the Akashi Bridge. The Akashi Bridge, located in Japan, spans the Akashi Strait, connecting the city of Kobe on the Japanese mainland to Awaji Island. Completed in 1998, it holds the record as the longest central span of any suspension bridge globally. The idea of constructing this bridge was conceived to address the transportation needs in the region and enhance connectivity between these two islands. The project was led by the Honshu Shikoku Highway Authority, and construction began in 1988, and it endured numerous challenges, including the Great Hanshin earthquake in 1995, which caused the bridge to sway excessively but remained structurally intact. The bridge's design incorporates three spans, the central span measuring 6,500 feet, flanked by two side spans. The structure also employs a two-hinge stiffening girder system to counteract strong winds and seismic activity. The bridge is supported by two towers, each standing at a height of 928 feet above sea level. The cables, comprised of over 185 miles of wire, contribute to the bridge's strength. This bridge was a monumental effort, taking a decade to complete. Its inauguration in 1998 marked a significant milestone in Japan's infrastructure and development. Fun fact, the bridge's central span is so extensive it allowed for the passage of large ships beneath its structure, catering to the maritime traffic in the Akashi Strait. Number 14, the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge. The San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge, commonly known as the Bay Bridge, connects the cities of San Francisco and Oakland in California in the United States. The bridge consists of two spans, the western span connecting San Francisco to Yerba Buena Island and the eastern span linking Yerba Buena to Oakland. Construction of the original Bay Bridge began in 1993 as part of efforts to enhance transportation infrastructure in the San Francisco Bay Area during the Great Depression. The project was led by the California Toll Bridge Authority. Now, this bridge opened in 1936, contributing to regional economic development. In fact, the original bridge was illuminated by over 23,000 lights during its 1936 opening, showcasing its significance in the region. The original western span is a cantilever bridge with two towers, each reaching a height of 746 feet. The bridge was later expanded with the addition of the eastern span, which opened in 2013, replacing a section damaged during the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. The eastern span features a self-anchored suspension bridge design. The tower of the eastern span stands at a height of 525 feet, and the bridge utilizes a combination of concrete and steel materials for enhanced seismic resilience, which is an absolute must for any good piece of engineering and architecture in California. The Bay Bridge, with a total length of about 5.5 miles, remains one of the most crucial pieces of infrastructure in the area and is a critical transportation link in the Bay Area, accommodating vehicular and pedestrian traffic. Number 13, the Bear Mountain Bridge. So the Bear Mountain Bridge, ceremonially known as the Purple Heart Veterans Memorial Bridge, is a suspension bridge in New York State, spanning the Hudson River between Bear Mountain State Park in Orange County and Cortlandt in Westchester County. Carrying U.S. Route 6 and U.S. Route 202, this bridge has historical significance, as it was one of the longest suspension bridges in the world upon its completion in 1924, holding this record for 19 months until surpassed by the Benjamin Franklin Bridge between Philadelphia and Camden, New Jersey. The history of the Bear Mountain Bridge dates back to the late 19th century, with multiple attempts to construct a bridge at the site. The project evolved from initial plans for a railroad bridge to its eventual realization as an automobile bridge. The Bear Mountain Hudson River Bridge Company, established in 1922, played a critical role in completing the project. The bridge officially opened on November 27, 1924, having the title of the longest suspension bridge span in the world at that time, and introducing the first concrete deck of its kind. Ownership of the bridge was later transferred to the New York State Bridge Authority in 1940, and tolls were adjusted over the years. Notably, in 1970, tolls were abolished for westbound drivers, and in 2021, the bridge transitioned to an all-electronic tolling in the eastbound direction. In terms of maintenance, the Bear Mountain Bridge has been a testing ground for new materials aimed at reducing cost and environmental impact of bridge cable maintenance. Engineers experimented with polymer-based non-toxic paste to seal strands against moisture intrusion, showcasing a commitment to advancing maintenance practices. Number 12, the Hangju Bay Bridge. The Hangju Bay Bridge, spanning 22.2 miles, is a prominent highway bridge featuring two separate cable-stayed portions. Situated across the mouth of the Hangju Bay in the eastern coastal region of China, it connects the municipalities of Jiaxing and Ningbo in the Zhejiang province. Constructed to address transportation needs, the bridge was completed on June 14, 2007, with an opening ceremony held on June 26, 2007. After thorough testing and evaluation, it was opened to the public on May 1, 2008. Now, this bridge significantly reduced the highway travel distance between Ningbo and Shanghai from 249 miles to 112 miles, cutting travel time from 4 to 2 hours. At 22 miles in length, it ranked among the 10 longest transoceanic bridges. Now, structurally, the cable-stayed bridge form was chosen for its strength against adverse conditions, including high tidal bore forces, earthquakes, and typhoons. Steel piles were used instead of concrete, considering their strength against corrosion from tidal forces. The challenging work conditions, with waves reaching 25 feet tall, necessitated innovative construction tech. Massive cranes, including a 2,200-ton and 3,000-ton crane, were employed for transporting and placing girders. The construction process faced challenges, including offshore construction and the region's complex sea environment, with significant tides and typhoons. Components like piers and box girders were constructed on land and transported to the sites. Challenges also included weather-related issues such as erosion, cracking, and bubbling of concrete components. Innovative solutions like cloth-covered templates and low-strength early stretching technology were implemented to address these challenges. One significant challenge was the discovery of toxic methane below the bridge location, requiring the alleviation of gas pressure before drilling. Engineers inserted steel pipes to release the methane, ensuring safe construction. Number 11. The Udand Bridge. Supporting both cars and trains as they pass between Denmark and the southern tip of Sweden, the Udand Bridge transitions from bridge to tunnel as the road and railway dip beneath the waves. In fact, the name Udand is a bit of a mishmash of Danish and Swedish to commemorate the connecting countries and cultures. The passenger travel connection was completed in 1999, connecting to Swedish city of Malmö to the Danish metropolis of Copenhagen. While building a bridge over the Udand Strait was not a huge challenge in itself, doing so without interfering with air traffic above or the shipping traffic on the water below seemed almost impossible. Building a suspension bridge tall enough to allow ships to pass beneath it would prevent the busy Copenhagen airport from functioning. A bridge built any lower would have halted ship traffic. The simple yet unusual solution was a bridge that would descend beneath the waves halfway across a strait. A man-made island known as Peberholm was built to support the transition point, and a tunnel was dug beneath the strait on the Danish end, known independently as the Drogden Tunnel. On the Swedish side, the sweeping suspension bridge was constructed to slowly slope right into the water, making it look from the outside as if the bridge gives up and curves into nothingness. Today, the bridge is the longest automobile and rail bridge in Europe, despite being half-tunnel. With an estimated 17,000 cars passing over and under the Udand Strait each day, this span brings a literal meaning to the phrase bridge and tunnel crowd. So, just how much did this thing cost? Try $7.87 billion. Number 10. The Forth Road Bridge. The Forth Road Bridge, a suspension bridge located in east-central Scotland, opened in 1964, and at that time was the longest suspension bridge in the world outside the US. Spanning the Firth of Forth, it connects Edinburgh at the South Queens Ferry to Fife at North Queens Ferry, replacing centuries-old ferry services for vehicular traffic, cyclists, and pedestrians. Railway crossings are made by the nearby Forth Bridge, opened in 1990. Now, the operational history saw the Scottish Parliament decide to eliminate tolls on the bridge from February 2008. The adjacent Queens Ferry crossing opened in August of 2017. And took over M90 motorway traffic across the Firth of Forth, as the Forth Road Bridge has exceeded its design capacity. At its peak, the Forth Road Bridge carried 65,000 vehicles a day. Following closure for repairs and refurbishment, the Forth Road Bridge reopened in February of 2018, designated as a dedicated public transport corridor with access restricted to buses and taxis. Pedestrians and cyclists continue to use the bridge, and in May of 2023, Stagecoach Fife initiated the driverless bus service in the UK, including the Forth Road Bridge as a main section. The history of this crossing dates back to the 11th century, when Queen Margaret established a ferry service for religious pilgrims. Proposals for a road crossing emerged in the 1740s, with increased lobbying in the 1920s and 30s. The Great Britain road numbering scheme further emphasized the crossing's significance. During construction, 7 people lost their lives, and the ferry service was discontinued upon the bridge's opening by Queen Elizabeth II and the Duke of Edinburgh on September 4, 1964. The FRBJB managed the bridge until 2002, when operation responsibility was transferred to the Forth Estuary Transport Authority. The bridge did face some structural issues in the early 21st centuries, with concerns about its exceeding its planned capacity and potential lifespan challenges. An inspection program in 2003 revealed corrosion in the main suspension cables, prompting a series of actions, including a dehumidification program and cable splicing to increase the bridge's lifespan. Number 9. The Mackinac Bridge. The Mackinac Bridge, also known as the Mighty Mac or the Big Mac, is a suspension bridge connecting the upper and lower peninsulas of the U.S. state of Michigan. It spans the Straits of Mackinac, linking Lake Michigan and Lake Huron, two of the Great Lakes. Opened in 1957, the 26,372-foot-long bridge is the world's 27th longest main span and the longest suspension bridge between anchorages in the Western Hemisphere. It's part of Interstate 75 and serves as a segment of the U.S. North Country National Scenic Trail. Designed by engineer David B. Steinman, the Mackinac Bridge has become an iconic symbol of the state of Michigan. Its length and historical significance contributes to its status as a prominent transportation landmark. The bridge connects the city of St. Ignace to the north with the village of Mackinac City to the south. The idea of a bridge spanning the straits dates back to the 1880s, and formal discussions began in the Michigan legislature during that time. The region, known as Michilimackinac, was historically significant for the Algonquin peoples. Increased traffic in the 20th century led to the initiation of a ferry service, but by 1920 the plans for the bridge gained traction. Formal planning for the bridge started in the mid-1930s, but funding challenges and the outbreak of World War II delayed progress. In 1950, the Mackinac Bridge Authority was created, and engineers were retained for the project. The state legislature authorized the sales of bonds for bridge construction in 1952, and construction began on May 7, 1954, under two major contracts. Notable facts and figures about the Mackinac Bridge include its total length, 26,372 feet, a main span length of over 3,800 feet, and a width of 54 feet. The bridge is 552 feet tall above the water, with towers extending over 215 feet below water. It's got a total of 12,580 wires in each main cable, and the total length of wire in the main cables is over 42,000 miles. Construction cost amounted to over $99 million, and the bridge was designated a National Historic Civil Engineering Landmark in 2010. The Mackinac Bridge has played a vital role in connecting Michigan's peninsulas and has achieved various milestones, such as its 150 millionth vehicle crossing on September 6, 2009. Number 8. The George Washington Bridge. The George Washington Bridge is a double-decker suspension bridge spanning the Hudson River, connecting Fort Lee, New Jersey with Washington Heights, Manhattan. It is the world's busiest motor vehicle bridge, handling over 104 million vehicles in 2019. Owned by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, it has 14 vehicular lanes, 8 on the upper level and 6 on the lower. The bridge is 4,760 feet long with a main span of 3,500 feet. Constructed from September 1927 to October 1931, it was designed by Othmar Ammann, Alston Dana, and Edward W. Stearns, with Cass Gilbert as a consulting architect. The upper level opened in 1931, widened in 1946, and the lower level opened in 1962. The upper deck has a vertical clearance of over 14 feet, while the lower deck is at 13.6 feet. There are 2 sidewalks on the upper span. The bridge has 14 lanes, and the main cables, 4 in total, are 3 feet in diameter and support the bridge deck. Each main cable contains 61 strands with a total of over 105,000 wires. The suspension towers on each side are 604 feet tall and made of exposed steel, and the original design included ornamental designs for cable ends, but cost-cutting during the Great Depression led to omitting these. The towers were illuminated in 2000 for special occasions, and the bridge's location was chosen due to its geography. Steep cliffs on both sides allows for construction without impending maritime traffic. The states conducted studies in 1925, and the Hudson River Bridge Bill passed in 1925 and 1926 in New Jersey and New York legislatures, respectively. Preliminary plans included a 3,500-foot central span carrying 4 lanes initially, with space for future expansion. Construction was expected to start in 1927, and final plans were approved in December 1926, and bonds were issued to fund the $50 million project. Moving on to number 7, the Bosphorus Bridge. The Bosphorus Bridge, officially known as the 15 July Martyrs Bridge, is the oldest and southernmost of the 3 suspension bridges spanning the Bosphorus Strait in Istanbul, Turkey. It connects Europe and Asia, running between Irkutsk in Europe and Berbera in Asia. Constructed as a gravity-anchored suspension bridge with steel towers and incline hangars, this bridge is 5,150 feet long, with a deck width of 115 feet. The main span of the towers is well over 3,500 feet, and the total height of the towers is 550. The bridge clearance from sea level is about 213 feet. It was completed in 1973. It had the fourth longest suspension bridge span globally and remained the longest in Europe until 1981. It currently ranks 40th globally. After an attempted military coup in 2016, it was formally renamed the 15 Temür Şehitler Köprüsü in memory of those resisting the coup. The decision to build the bridge was made in 1957, and construction began in 1970. Led by Turkish firm Enka Construction and Industry Company, with co-contractors Cleveland Bridge and Engineering Company and Hochschiff AG. The bridge was completed on October 30, 1973, costing more than $200 million. It was significant as a major transport route connecting Europe to Turkey, and it was designed by British civil engineers Gilbert Roberts, William Brown, and Michael Parsons, along with American engineer David B. Steinman, contracted for the project. Additionally, the bridge hosted unique events, including a tennis match between Venus Williams and İpek Şenoglu in 2005, and a show by Formula One driver David Coulthard in 2005. Tiger Woods made show shots on the bridge in 2013 during the Turkish Airlines Open Golf Tournament. Number 6. Penang Bridge. The Penang Bridge, located in Malaysia, is a massive structure connecting the island of Penang to the Malay Peninsula. The idea of constructing a bridge to link Penang Island and the mainland was conceived in the early 1970s. The Malaysian government, recognizing the potential economic benefits and improved connectivity, embarked on this ambitious project. Construction commenced in 1982 and was led by the United Engineers Malaysia Group, a major engineering and construction firm. This bridge is an impressive dual-carriageway dual-bridge structure. The bridge has a cable-stayed design utilizing steel cables and concrete towers to support the expansive deck. This design choice ensures stability and durability, especially vital for a structure spanning such a huge body of water. The total length of the bridge, including both the main and approach spans, is about 8.4 miles. Its main span extends over the Penang Strait for 738 feet, while the towers that anchor the cables rise to a height of 331 feet. Now, functionally, the Penang Bridge serves as a vital link between Penang Island and the mainland, facilitating seamless movement of people and goods. The bridge's strategic location contributes to the overall infrastructure network, enhancing its accessibility and regional integration. Number 5. The Verzano Narrows Bridge. The Verzano Narrows Bridge, connecting Staten Island and Brooklyn, is a suspension bridge spanning the Narrows, linking New York Harbor with Lower New York Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. It carries 13 lanes of Interstate 278, named after Giovanni de Verzano, the first European explorer to enter New York Harbor in 1524. Proposed by engineer David B. Steinman in the late 1920s, construction faced delays until 1959 when Robert Moses championed the project. It was designed by Othmar Ammann and others, and the bridge opened on November 21, 1964, with a lower deck added in 1969. A $1.5 billion reconstruction project started in 2014. The bridge's central span is 4,260 feet, and it was once the longest suspension bridge, now ranking 18th globally and the longest in the Americas. Officially named in 1960, it was misspelled Verzano Narrows Bridge due to a contract error, but it was corrected in 2018. Tolls were collected both ways, with only westbound drivers paying from 1986 to 2020 to alleviate congestion. Surveying started in January 1959 and construction on August 14, 1959, with the TBTA overseeing funding and building. Before work, the TBTA cleared structures at future anchorages, acquiring land within Fort Hamilton, and the bridge's initial construction aimed to prevent delays on expressways. It has upper and lower levels supported by trusses designed to withstand various pressures. The anchorage on the Staten Island side, for example, features a de-icing facility. Due to thermal expansion, the upper roadway's height does vary with seasons, and crews and container ships must meet bridge clearance requirements. The two suspension towers offshore contain around 1 million bolts and 3 million rivets, with a combined 1,265,000 short tons of metal. Each main cable is 36 inches in diameter, and it's composed of over 26,000 wires, totaling more than 142,000 miles in length. The towers at 693 feet were once the tallest structures in New York City outside of Manhattan. And one cool fact about the bridge is birds, particularly peregrine falcons, that nest on the bridge. These falcons have been breeding here since 1983, and the city monitors and protects their nesting sites due to their endangered status. Number 4. Niagara Falls International Rainbow Bridge. In August of 1938, the Niagara Falls Bridge Commission convened for the first time in Niagara Falls, New York. Appointed by New York State Governor Herbert Lehman, Fred M. Krull, Will A. Cannon, and Samuel S. Johnson represented New York, while Canadian members T.B. McQueen, Archie Haynes, and C. Ellison Kallmeyer represented the province of Ontario, serving as members of the Niagara Parks Commission. Following joint approval from the governments of Ontario and New York, the Niagara Falls Bridge Commission assumed responsibility. With this authority, they set out to replace the Honeymoon Bridge with a new structure, naming it the Rainbow Bridge. On November 15, 1938, Samuel Johnson, vice chairman of the Niagara Falls Bridge Commission, announced that Edward P. Lupfer Incorporated, an engineering firm in Buffalo, would design the Rainbow Bridge. In 1939, King George VI and Queen Elizabeth visited Niagara Falls, dedicating the site of the Rainbow Bridge. A monument on the Canadian shore commemorates this event. Construction of the Rainbow Bridge began on May 4, 1940, approximately 550 feet north of the previous Honeymoon Bridge. Positioned 1,000 feet north of the American Falls, the bridge spans the 200-foot deep and 1,000-foot wide Niagara Gorge. The bridge has got a main span of 950 feet, main arch abutments, each located 50 feet from the river's edge and 50 feet above the water's surface, rest on solid rock on the gorge's sides, preventing a catastrophe similar to the Honeymoon Bridge's fate. The main span comprises two steel box girder ribs spaced 56 feet apart, and each arch consists of 24 sections, each 12 feet high, weighing 49 to 75 tons. A total of approximately 3,500 tons of steel were used in the two ribs, with an additional 2,000 tons in the superstructure and decking. Upon completing the sections, an 11-inch steel piece joined the 475-foot sections extending from each shore, later replaced with a permanent piece designed for temperature expansion and contraction. The bridge's deck stands at 202 feet above the water, with approaches measuring 1,450 feet long. Two 22-foot wide roadways separated by a 4-foot wide median and a 10-foot wide sidewalk along the south side offer some ample space. The Rainbow Bridge officially opened on November 1, 1941, marking a completion of this monumental project and further paving the way for the greatest Mario Kart track of all time. Number 3. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge comprises twin suspension bridges spanning the Tacoma Narrows Strait of Puget Sound in Pierce County, Washington. Connecting Tacoma with the Kitsap Peninsula, these bridges carry State Route 16. Now, the historical context includes the original Galloping Gertie, which was opened in July of 1940, but collapsed due to aeroelastic flutter 4 months later. Its replacement opened in 1950, and it still stands today in the westbound lanes of the current two-bridge complex. The original Tacoma Narrows Bridge, colloquially known as Galloping Gertie, opened on July 1, 1940. The nickname originated from the observed vertical movement of the deck during windy conditions. And despite attempts to address these unusual motions, the bridge collapsed into the Tacoma Narrows on November 7, 1940 under high wind. Population growth on the Kitsap Peninsula led to traffic exceeding capacity by 1990. Washington voters approved a measure in 1998 to build a parallel bridge. Construction marked by protests and court battles commenced in 2002. The new bridge opened for eastbound traffic on July 16, 2007, with the 1950 bridge reconfigured for westbound traffic. Efforts for a bridge at this location would date back to 1889, with serious endeavors starting in the mid-1920s. The Washington State Toll Bridge Authority, established in 1937, allocated funds for studying the Narrows Bridge. The collapse of the original bridge on November 7, 1940 at 11 a.m. had enduring effects on science and engineering. The collapse is debated among engineers, attributed to possibly aeroelastic flutter. This event showcased SUIS students, emphasizing lessons on engineering disasters. The dismantling of damaged parts began shortly after the collapse, but World War II and other challenges delayed replacement plans. A professor conducted new tests, and construction of the replacement started on April 12, 1948, with completion on October 14, 1950. The westbound bridge, designed for 60,000 vehicles daily, handled both directions until the eastbound bridge's opening in July 15, 2007. Construction of the eastbound bridge began on October 4, 2002, with completion in July of 2007, costing $786 million. It's the fifth largest suspension bridge in the U.S. Number 2. The Yavuz Sultan Selim Bridge. The Yavuz Sultan Selim Bridge, also known as the Third Bosphorus Bridge, is a significant vehicular bridge spanning the Bosphorus Strait, north of Istanbul's existing suspension bridges, the 15 July Martyrs Bridge and the Faith Sultan Mehmet Bridge. Construction of the bridge, part of the Northern Marmara motorway, commenced with the laying of the foundation stone on May 29, 2013, and it officially opened on August 26, 2016. Designed by Swiss engineer Jean-François Klein, French structural engineer Michel Vergros, The bridge serves both road and rail purposes, accommodating 4 motorway lanes and 1 railway track in each direction. The construction, led by Turkish company Ishtash and the Italian company Astaldi, concluded with the budgeted cost of approximately $2.5 billion. During its construction, the project faced challenges, including changes in site location and a fatal accident in 2014. Now, despite these issues, the bridge stands as a remarkable engineering feat, symbolizing connectivity and progress in the region. The bridge toll is set at about $9.90 between the motorway exits Odairi and Pashakoy, with expected daily traffic of at least 135,000 vehicles in each direction. The project, although facing financial challenges during the Turkish currency and debt crisis, secured refinancing. The opening ceremony on August 26, 2016 was attended by various international dignitaries. Number 1. The Brooklyn Bridge. The Brooklyn Bridge, an engineering benchmark, is a hybrid cable-stayed suspension bridge connecting the boroughs of Manhattan and Brooklyn over the East River in New York City. It opened on May 24, 1883, and it marked the first fixed crossing of the East River and held the title of the world's longest suspension bridge at the time. With a main span of 1,595.5 feet and a deck soaring 127 feet above the high water, proposals for a bridge between Manhattan and Brooklyn surfaced in the early 19th century, eventually leading to the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge. Designed by John A. Roebling and brought to life by Chief Engineer Washington Roebling, assisted by his wife Emily Warren Roebling, the bridge faced numerous challenges during its construction, spanning over 13 years. Over time, it underwent several modifications, adapting to changing transportation needs. It incorporates a hybrid cable-stayed/suspension bridge design, showcasing its stone towers with neo-Gothic features, including pointed arches. The New York City Department of Transportation notes its original paint scheme as Brooklyn Bridge Tan and Silver, contributing to its distinctive appearance. To accommodate shipping in the East River, the bridge features a long approach with viaducts on either end, making it a total of 6,016 feet long, including approaches. The main span between the 2 suspension towers stretches 1,595 feet, and it's 85 feet wide. The bridge's design allows for fluctuation between extremes of temperature, elongating and contracting by up to 14 to 16 inches. The side spans between each suspension tower and its anchorage measure 930 feet long. The truss system, designed by John Roebling, is 6 to 8 times stronger than initially deemed necessary. It supports a total load of over 18,700 short tons, reflecting its original purpose of carrying heavier elevated trains. An elevated pedestrian-only promenade runs between both of the roadways, offering a spectacular view and connecting the balcony to near the towers. The Brooklyn Bridge, designated a National Historic Landmark and a New York City landmark, remains toll-free for passenger vehicles, pedestrians, and bicycles. Over the years, the bridge has become a symbol of New York City, attracting tourists and serving as a backdrop for various stunts, performances, and, unfortunately, crimes and attacks. Renovated multiple times in the 1950s, 80s, and 2010s, the Brooklyn Bridge continues to stand as an enduring icon of engineering and connectivity. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Thank you to our channel members.